So it's good to see you in person, virtually, I guess is the best way to describe it. But um, our journey together goes back a number of years, and you've always been a strong supporter of the mentoring movement. No matter where I turn to look, I've always been able to count on you to, provide advice and guidance and all of that. And you were actually one of the key people that was instrumental in us moving away from a knowledge-based certification to one that was competence-based. And so for that, I thank you. I was even more delighted when you agreed to go through the educational material that we've put together for the international mentoring community, and for you to provide your valued feedback that I've come to rely on quite heavily. So I wanted to thank you for doing that, and for agreeing to, obviously, to go through the Certificate of Achievement Mentoring and to have completed that particular program, and providing your input on that as well as as you've gone through that process. So as we've explained, you have successfully completed the Certificate of Achievement Mentoring. And I believe Dr. Hobbs has indicated that your certificate is now electronically available to you. And I encourage you to use that to promote what it is you've achieved, because what you have achieved is phenomenal as far as going through the Certificate of Achievement, because what that particular level does is provides the ability for an audit to take place that verifies or validates your knowledge that you have. And obviously by going through and successfully completing it, the message that you're now in a position to send to the rest of the world is that I now have the knowledge that's required to be an effective mentor. And I'm willing to share that with you, with others.
So the beauty of the journey, I think, and this is a little bit of a personal journey for Doug and I, not just a learning journey, because when I've been a mentor for many, many years and had always approached it, as many, part of a corporate program, you're attached either as a mentee or a mentor to someone typically within the organizational structure, very career focused and very specific to the goals, your career goals, but also really the goals of the organization from a succession planning perspective. And so over the years, one of the things that I found was that the organizational goals and personal goals for people sometimes were at odds. The organization might have had a concept or an idea of, oh, this should be your path. And the person's like, well, I'm not sure I really want to do that. Or that I feel that that's a set of my talent and skills that I want to bring forward. And so I think it was through that discovery that I started to really appreciate and internalize, without words, the difference between coaching and mentoring. And then over time, as my interest in mentoring started to really come forward, I was surprised and delighted to find out that you could more formally learn about what does or does not make a good mentor. It had always been rather ad hoc, maybe a tip sheet about confidentiality and all of those other very basic things. But the idea of actually having a methodology that supports it and that you could learn and grow in that methodology was a very, very powerful learning for me. And that is actually how Doug and I first met, was through pursuing more formal education in terms of a mentoring certification. And now I think maybe 3 or 4 certifications later, I've been delighted to be part of the Certificate of Achievement. And what I really love about the way that the certificate has been approached is that there is an academic component. So basic knowledge, this is how we do things. Here's some tips and techniques. Continuous linking through the action outcome statements. So a really compelling base for people to be able to draw on regardless of where they're at in their mentoring experience and journey. But then added to that is the actual experience. And what have you done? How have you applied these principles that comes into the actual assessment routine? So not only can I repeat the answers to the questions, but I actually have internalized how I can apply these, how I have applied them, and what areas I can still continue to learn and grow and bring those skills and talents more to the forefront in order to be an even better mentor going forward. So the whole journey and the combination of skills that are part of that, I think, are really inherent in what makes it a really powerful combination for someone either starting out or as they've progressed in their mentoring journey in a similar way that I found having some formalized capability in behind it is a really wonderful way to both validate your skills, but as well build and grow.
Thank you so much for that feedback, and congratulations on going through and completing the Certificate of Achievement Mentoring. It's definitely a signal or a sign of a very high level of commitment to the mentoring process. And I look forward to us, continuing on our journey together, because I think we have some great opportunities that lie ahead for helping us make the mentoring experience a deeper, richer experience through, the IMC, the International Mentoring Community's certification process. I know I personally have grown immensely since I've begun my journey, and I can obviously tell you too have taken this opportunity and used this as part of your continuous learning as an effective mentor. So once again, congratulations to you on going through this and for being part of the journey as well.
Well, thank you very much. I know I wouldn't be here without your support, Doug.
I know you have gone through the different levels and that the IMC International Mentoring Community provides. I'm interested in what precipitated your decision to take on the Certificate of Achievement Mentoring as your what potentially could be your first step into the IMC certification world.
So thanks for the question, Doug. Learning is a very personal journey, especially for someone like myself, later in career. How I choose to balance my time and continue to learn and grow. The decisions that feed into that vary. They vary from what else is on my plate. Do I have my primary practice is change management, as you know, and do I have primary engagements underway? Has a little butterfly of something in fintech caught my eye that's kind of got me on a learning path over there. And so some of these foundational disciplines and practices that I have in place, like mentoring, like change management, I truly see as part of a continuum of learning and growth. And so as I leaned into the Certificate of Achievement, I'm balancing off, where am I at in terms of my capability, my own self-assessment of capability? What is my desired time investment? And head and heart investment as well. Time is one aspect, but because of the depth of the learning required, and that's a huge benefit of this program, the depth of the learning and development that you take on, you need to choose. You need to choose something that fits you at that particular point in your journey as an individual, and based on the infrastructure around to support you and a variety of those other things. So knowing that, and knowing sort of the deep discipline that's required, and sometimes it takes a while to exercise a muscle before you go into the next set of exercises. That's how I landed at the Certificate of Achievement. The Certificate of Competence, I think, is a great opportunity for future potentially, but also for people who themselves want to commit to a real depth in a particular skill set or knowledge base. Sometimes I think of myself as a little bit of a buffet girl as opposed to a single hearty prime rib meal, but you know, it doesn't mean that from time to time I don't go deeper in a specific subject matter, as with the Certificate of Achievement, and potentially at some point with the Certificate of Competence as well.
And I know that we discussed at the beginning of your journey through this, we discussed the various levels that, you know, were available to you. And, you know, we started with a certificate of recognition mentoring, which was, you know, kind of a base knowledge of mentoring. And then from there to the one that you actually landed on to move forward with, which was the Certificate of Achievement Mentoring, which from my perspective, I know when I went through, and I'm sure you'll echo that, it gave you a deeper, richer understanding of the knowledge of mentoring, of what the process and practices and all of that would entail. And then from there, because I know we talked about this, and is the Certificate of Competence Mentor, which is actually taking all that knowledge and now applying that in a practical sense. So where it really plays in quite nicely is for people that are entertaining the idea of a mentoring practice. And that's where it falls into actually quite nicely into that market niche, for lack of a better choice of words. And then finally, the last one that we have at this particular stage is the Certificate of Competence Journey Mentor. And that's one that is more focused on actually mentoring mentors through the certification process, but it also has a mental health flavor to it as well, where we're moving forward with mentors being part of the mental health support structure. And so that's, you know, certainly another one. So I guess where I'm going with all of this preamble is just to say that I hear what you said, which was that you had to make a decision as to which was the best fit for you for that particular time point. And I wanted to share just how much of a decision that actually was for you, because, you know, there's 4 different levels of certification, and you, in your particular case, you have the capability to do either one of those at any given time. And so it was just good for us to get an understanding of what precipitated your decision, and that, you know, certainly we can be having this conversation even further later on down the road when, you know, when things change for you.
This idea of layering and building on learning over time also is important to me, from internalizing and actually putting into practice the knowledge and the techniques that I learn about. And if I think back to something as simple as the mentoring log, so some of the early learning that I had through Talent C was this idea of the benefit of a mentoring log. And so something that even though it hasn't been a specific requirement for anyone other than myself and the benefit of my mentors, my mentees in the past while, I've maintained it. And it gives me a sense of accomplishment to know how much time I've invested into the growth and development of other people, but also is one of those disciplines that as you entrench them in your habits and then build upon them, it gives you that confidence to be able to consider and pursue another level. And the ability to add to that continuous learning through organizations like the Wealth Movement, like Talent C, like the international mentoring community itself, is a really powerful way of being able to continually kind of test yourself. You know, am I doing that? Am I doing a proper reflection after my mentoring conversations? How am I continuing to take that base and make that base richer and deeper every time I formalize it with some specific learning? So for that, I'm grateful.